Hey folks, and welcome to They Might Be Racing. In today's video, we are in the 2002 Ford Explorer, and what we're going to do is swap out the blower motor. So as we went to get into the car last evening, I turned on the car, turned on the AC, and all of a sudden heard the most horrifying noise coming from underneath the dashboard on the passenger side of the car. Basically what happened, from what I can tell, is that the blower motor just imploded upon itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace it with a new blower motor. Now, before we go into installing this, some things to keep in mind. So this is what's called the squirrel cage, and it actually goes up underneath like that. This piece here has a specific alignment, and you'll see it when you go pull the other one out. Now, there are 3 bolts that hold this in place, but we're going to end up pulling a couple more out simply because it facilitates access. The other thing you've got is you've got a soft felt gasket that goes down there with it. You have to make sure when you replace an old one with a new one, you replace the gasket as well. So let's go ahead and come down here. So this air valve assembly goes back up here. It blocks one of the bolts, so you just want to remove that and let it hang down. These are all held in by 8mm. There is this front one right here, which doesn't actually hold the unit in, but it holds the wiring loom in place, and so this will give you some more flexibility. Right here is the electrical switch. That's what connects the wiring harness to the motor. So you just get down underneath that, lift it, and wiggle it off. Come on. Again, on an older car, you want to be careful with all of these plastic connectors because they get brittle with time. And these things always want to make a monkey's uncle of me. I need to get a screwdriver in there. Okay. There we go. So that's loose now, so you can get access. Now, depending on which Ford Explorer you have, there is a difference between heater-equipped and AC-equipped cars. So when you get your motor, you have to specify that it is an AC-equipped vehicle. And this is only the front blower. Some Explorers have a rear blower as well. Now, in our case last night, it was very easy to determine that the blower motor was going because basically it failed quite fantastically with an epic amount of noise. If you're trying to diagnose why your system isn't working, if the fan blows at all, then it's generally not the blower motor. And you want to look at things like the blower motor resistor and other items like that. But like I said, in our case, it was fairly obvious what it was. And despite having good access from underneath, it's actually surprisingly tight down here. And so that is the piece I mentioned earlier, which has to be lined up correctly. Ooh, yeah, huh. Well, that's not good. I should have pine needles in there. But you can see how that's vibrating back and forth. That's where the actual motor failed. Let's get rid of that piece. Make sure to get the old gasket out. If there's any dust and dirt in there, just kind of wipe it off. Get it cleaned out. And here we got the new unit. Make sure your gasket is aligned correctly. There should actually be screw holes in the gasket that you line up with. Alright. And then what we do is get this back piece aligned first and lift it up into position. The more straight on you can sort of be, the easier it is to lift it up into position. Get it clear of any of the wiring and the vacuum tubes in the back. What are we hooked on? We're hooked on something. There's another line holder right back here that's in an annoying position. Alright, you can see it better now. Alright. So, the unit lined up. Make sure your gasket's on correctly. My God, this is unnecessarily stupid. Come on, gasket. Alrighty. So, get it above the vacuum tubes in the back. The wiring harness pulled out a bit in the front. There we go. There we go. You're going to want to hold it up because it only goes in one way. Just get your screws in. And of course, this gasket is a bit on the annoying side. Likes to crawl. And I'll tell you that this actually normally isn't very hard to do, but my camera is actually eating most of my working space in this, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm having a lot of difficulties that you won't have simply because you don't have a camera in the way. Alright, So I'm going to go ahead and connect the rest of the screws, because we've now got it sort of mounted in place. Then I'm going to plug the wiring harness back in, and we will test it. So my cameraman thought it would be humorous to show you how I actually do this job. In British car circles, we call this the lotus position. Basically, completely upside down with your head underneath the dash. It's not as uncomfortable as it looks, and it makes getting under here significantly easier. So, hopefully if my cameraman is done embarrassing me now. Alright, so finished screwing it up, screwing the bits back in place. Now the test is to start the car. Start with your fan on low. Our AC is probably already on. Turn it on, put your hands in front, and I feel cold air. Oh, that feels really good. Pick it up a notch. There we go. Oh, that feels very good. Much better than it was last night. Now, something to keep in mind, because the easiest way to diagnose if your blower motor resistor is bad is when you go from 3 to 2 to 1, it only blows at one speed. But if it slowly ramps up, and for some reason it's kind of like, you know, wheeze, cough, hack, tornado, but that's just the way the switch works. But as long as you get more airflow each time, that'll tell you your blower motor resistor is just fine. So at this point in time, in the space of 15 minutes, we've replaced the blower motor on this car. We now have air conditioning again, which, considering that we are getting into 100-degree weather, is much needed. Till next time.